Kia ora, and welcome to our new panel show, where if you've got something to say, you better say it with your chest.
Today we're gonna start with rapid fire.
Someone's come to my brain.
Let's start from the very beginning.
When Fresh first started, it was about celebrating the fresh off the boat way of speaking.
And then I went to the shop.
Uncle Sam's, Tiger and Ra and How Fresh Are You have inspired many films, TV shows and new social media influencers, but has the fresh off the boat sale. I think it's an art form we can all agree that art is so subjective.
Yeah.
And when we are using dialogue or mannerisms in these kind of ways, we do dance a fine line between self-appreciation and self-celebration and self-degradation as well.
Yeah.
So we need to ask ourselves and unpack, when is too much? When do we need to reel it back a little bit, and when is it okay to push that envelope? And I suppose it comes down to what our taste levels are as well.
Taste levels, and I also think what is happening in a culture. Like, I think sometimes we laugh so much to hide a lot of issues.
I think that we do a disservice to ourselves, and so whereas the conversation a lot of the time is someone's backing us into a corner, putting us into a box, we actually do it
we're
first.
doing it ourselves.
We do it first voluntarily, that they don't have to.
I don't think it's fair to put the complete blame on us. There is definitely, the context of colonialism and assimilation that we've been kind of forced to go through, which informs that humour, and that's definitely something we have to take into account, because, we wouldn't have that humour if we weren't actually forced to speak English.
I moved to New Zealand in 2014. I had a very, very strong accent back then. And there were specific people who could speak perfectly fine, and those were the same people who had put me down for not being able to speak English. Now, I look at those people who speak English perfectly fine and were teasing people for not being able to speak English, suddenly want to benefit from my narrative.
Sophia, you are our resident creator of content, and your videos on TikTok go off. Now, you do utilise some of the nuances that we are discussing today. Would you care to elaborate from your point of view and from your experience what that has been like?
First of all, for me growing up, just being around like South Auckland and all that stuff, we basically grew up around the whole fresh accent, and it's something that we're just used to. As well as that, we start picking off things that we find funny, but it's just for a laugh for those that really can relate to it.
Where's the catfish? I need to eat it for my lunching.
I guess there's only ever been one person that has actually said, why are you doing this? It's like really bad. But that's when it came to me like, do people actually find this stuff offensive?
For me, the big problem is when you get people who don't have any real interaction with the culture, with the people, with the context, and then they just take it as, oh, this is what you guys are like.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, excuse me, no, that's not, and that's where I think the conversation needs to go more. For us and amongst ourselves, I think, it's a great thing to be able to enjoy this art form. I love how you put it. It's an art form.
There's also a hardness and a softness as well. A softness because it's something that, culturally we can all draw familiarity from, but when it's weaponized against us or used to portray us in very stigmatized
Or back us into a corner.
Yeah, exactly. That's when it starts to feel a bit different. When you're the butt of the joke.
My husband does this thing where he mocks himself before anybody can mock him. It's almost like a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
To coping.
To cope, absolutely. And to heal through that laughter and allow those things to arise. But you're totally right, don't do it on behalf of somebody else.
I think fundamentally the idea of FOB comes from seeing Pacific accents as less than. So if we are able to reclaim the word, and I'm not saying that we may be able to do it, then it tells us that actually Pacific accents are not less than, and we shouldn't look down on them, and we shouldn't take this narrative that has been forced onto us. However, I also realize that the term FOB has so many negative connotations for people.
Absolutely.
It has, for some people, a lot of pain.
Trauma. Yeah.
So I wouldn't actually walk into a room of Pacific people and just throw that word out.
Yeah.
Sup, FOBs? What up?
But these things are too nuanced and too difficult to kind of just draw a line in.
Is the term FOB PC, or is it more problematic?
I have no problem using it, but that's just because I grew up with it. And we sort of just claimed it back.
I draw the line. Like, I will not accept anybody calling me a fob.
If someone fobs out, I'm gonna let you know that you fobbed out. I'm gonna have a laugh. And I'm gonna expect you to laugh as well because you know you fobbed out too.
I don't want a white person to call me a fob, like, ever. I don't want anybody that's outside of the Pacifica region to ever call me a fob. That's my 2 cents.
We can say it.
You can't.
But you can't.